You, along with other Senate Republicans, did send a letter to the DOJ regarding China. What can you tell us?
What we're getting at is these police stations that we hear have been set up in some of these soft propaganda operations or culture centers that China has opened. The Chinese Communist Party has opened in 7 different U.S. cities. So, what we want to know is, what did the FBI know and when did they know it? And what are they doing about this? And why has this administration not shut these things down? Why did they allow this to happen? And as you know, I have worked tirelessly on making certain that universities realize what is really happening in these Confucius institutes. That many times these individuals that are coming for cultural exchange are actually Chinese Communist Party spies. And they're trying to lift information from some of our universities, research work that is taking place. So we need to pay attention to this, that these centers are being used to surveil Chinese citizens who are in the U.S. They're being used to surveil individuals that may have moved here, that once lived in China and are now U.S. citizens. There are concerns from people. We're hearing a good bit about this. We're going to continue to drill down on this issue and make certain that these get closed.
The DOJ did say back in April that there was an undeclared police station that was operated by Chinese agents, and that was made to, quote, silence and harass dissidents. As we know, earlier this year, a Chinese spy balloon was shot down by the military in the middle of the United States. When Americans hear things like this, what should we think?
They should be aware of what China is trying to do. China wants to be globally dominant by the time we get to the midpoint of the century. They've been very public in this. They think the 21st century should be the China century. When you look at their Belt and Road Initiative, their Silk Road, their great power competition, what they're trying to do is push their way to global dominance, make people dependent on them, control the supply chain so that they can turn it off and turn it on when and where they want to. You look at what they're doing in Cuba with the spy base. You look at what they are doing in the South China Sea. You look at the spy balloon that they have floated. You look at what they've done through these culture centers and these sister cities and organizations and relationships, and what they're doing in the Confucius Institutes, and now with these police stations where they are surveilling. And you see that they are intent on surveilling people so they can control people.
I've been able to talk to a few 2024 contenders, and 2 of them specifically said the United States is in a Cold War with China right now. Do you agree?
What we know is that China is pushing the envelope every single day, whether it is building up their navy and whether it's exercising great power competition, whether it's taking 8% of their GDP and putting it into growing their military, whether it's continuing to push goods into the U.S. Last year, our trade imbalance with China, $1 trillion. We need an administration that is going to be tough with China, that is going to say, you cannot set up police stations in the U.S. You cannot float spy balloons across our country. You cannot surveil our people, and you cannot go after our allies and friends. I'm glad NATO is taking a tougher stance against China. I think that is helpful. I'm glad that you see Japan and South Korea building a relationship and working with other people, other countries there in the Pacific in order to stand up against an aggressive China.
Specifically, after the DOJ answers your questions from these letters, what actions do you want them to take?
We'll see what the DOJ has to say, and then we'll decide what actions we're going to take.